off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Live, Tiki, Rumble, Podchaser, Streaker, Spreaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So there's no gossip on this show, no scandal, no K words, Kanye, no P. Diddy, no T talk, nothing that will bring you down or begin to have you say things like, what's wrong with people? Instead, this is a show where you can talk about what's right with people, what's right with you, what's right with the world. And I have topics and guests and special series and co-hosts to that end. And I'm so delighted to be broadcasting live from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, where I am doing a couple things that we can talk about within the realm of our morning exercise, our good life habit, our hashtag Blisscipline that I encourage all of you to do. So step one is not to pick this up first thing in the morning and begin to MS, meaningless scrolling. Instead, I want you to have breakfast with me every weekday morning. Actually, now that I'm on the East Coast time zone, we're having lunch. So this is instead of our breakfast, taking a bite of our gratitude sandwich, we're having lunch and taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. And that's how I like to start every day in the most positive way. Or if you've had a continue your positive day, if you're on any other time zone, or begin again. And I definitely need to do that because I had every confusion on what day it was today. Easter Monday was a day off for me, one of my rare, I think I get 6 days off a year with the American holidays, and completely blanked and put the show together today as a Monday. So instead of Monday, I'm going to say Tuesday. And the guest that could not, we tried to make it work, but we will make it work on a Thursday where I can get her in last minute. But that's why I'm the Tuesday talent today. So what we're going to talk about is a combination of Mental Health Matters Mondays and Tuesday talent with me on the hot seat as an organizational psychologist, talking about how can we have and be happy at work, which some of you are not happy about going back to. And so we're going to hit that one head on this morning or at noon or on your lunch break or wherever you are. All right, so let's get started with lunch or breakfast, taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. Number one, top of the bun, things that we're grateful for outside of ourselves. I will say I'm grateful that this is, folks, my 677th consecutive week on the air, on camera. It is kind of... It's amazing to me. That means if you're trying to do the math right now, I'm about to hit the 13-year mark, which will be on May 1st. 2012 is when I actually started. And they said I wouldn't last a year because I don't talk about the headlines or any of the things that are on the news right now. If you're looking to talk about all of those horrific things that are happening right now, feel free to go any other channel because you will get the headlines there. Here we talk about heartlines, and it's not that we don't care, but I don't talk about things that we cannot control and there is no solution for. So that's why we don't talk about the headlines, because rarely are the news talking about solution. They're talking about if it bleeds, it leads. So anything to get a rise out of you, to get an angry response from you, to get a fearful response from you, we don't do that here. If we do talk about problems, we do talk about solutions. So I'm grateful that this show is still going on. Secondly, I am grateful that I can broadcast from wherever I am, thanks to technology. Third, I'm grateful for my brother's home office that I can broadcast from. I am grateful for my mom, who's 90 with Parkinson's, who's at a facility nearby, which I come to visit a couple, 3, 4 times a year. Then that's why I come to Toronto. But then I always like to combine a little business with family. And the business this time, I did some private coaching, private speaking. But the fun thing that I get to do tonight is I got invited for amateur night at the biggest comedy stage in Canada. It's called Yuck Yucks. It's the home where Jim Carrey actually got booed off stage his first time when he was 15, and then came back at 17 and killed it. And then Howie Mandel also started at Yuck Yucks. So it's a huge honor. There's the open mics that I've been at. Shout out to Joe Arsenal, to Mickey at the Comedy Lab. Joe is at Small's Kitchen. I did that and came first runner up in his competition, and then went to the diversity comedy where people of color and in the LGBTQA plus community get to go on first. So shout out to Mickey for bringing me there. She said I can come anytime, and the kind audiences. And I'm intending that continues tonight. And so grateful that I get to do this thing. I'll go to the bottom of the bun, which is, what do I like about myself? And I do this because we need some weight training in this. We need to up our ability to like ourselves. Otherwise, we are being run wild and, drive over the cliff of the critic who tells us all the time, you're not all that, or you're only as good as your last success. And truly, life is way too short to have your critic running yourself ragged. So the bottom of the bun is about really owning the things that you are one of a kind wonderful for. And it's not bragging. It's not tooting your own horn. It is balancing out that critic in your head with a way to feel good about yourself, which is such an important thing for Foundation for Mental Health. And if you don't, you will have a tendency to go looking for love in all the wrong places. And many of us are caught up in this social media, with our antenna up, looking for likes, literally. Just had a conversation about that again, that yes, being an influencer, a very new job that came with this, especially since COVID, you're only worthy if you have big numbers, which is such a dangerous place to be, and why I speak against it. And if you can't have me because my numbers aren't big enough, then it wasn't or isn't the right time. And I don't want to necessarily be on your platform, because I am the Kevin Costner of radio, TV. If you build it, they will come. And I obviously have some staying power, and people who know, and the messages that I get saying whenever I'm not in a great place, I know I can switch that up and come listen to you talk, which is great. And I'm so grateful for that. Now, Along with self-care comes self-soothing, and we're certainly gonna talk about that today, with the Mental Health Matters plus Tuesday Talent. So, that's coming up. But, what else do I like about myself? That I am not afraid to go against the grain and go against popular, this is the way to be successful. This is the way to, uh, get more people. This is the way to expand. I know that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I love what I do. I love what I get to do, and things just happen um, magically in my life. And I think I like that better than um, forcing things to happen. And this is law of attraction at work. Those of you who know Abraham Hicks, I am a student of that particular law of attraction, not the secret where I sit under a Bodhi tree and expect the car of my dreams to get in my garage. It's called inspired action, and we'll talk more about that. I appreciate my ability to practice, even when I don't feel like practicing. And we're going to talk about how do you respect people that you don't like at work today. Certainly, it is part of that. One last thing that I like about myself, my take on a challenge. I've gone from motivational speaker 3 decades now that I try to be funny, and I think I'm funny and people do laugh, but I chose a man to marry who told me every other day that I wasn't funny, my husband. So one of the things that I set out to do last year, I set the intention to, what about doing some stand up, which is the hardest job in the world, they say, and mix in a little motivation. So instead of a motivational speaker who's funny, not looking, but funny, as much as possible, to a stand up that does a little motivation. So that's what I've been doing, and I appreciate my ability to no fear. I think that's the bottom line. All right. So that is it for the top of the bun and the bottom of the bun for taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. And I hope that you will join me every weekday morning, except holidays, to continue this good life habit, this practice, in order to sandwich your day in the most positive way. Thanks for joining Free for Breakfast. And now for the topic of the day. Do you hate the people you work with? Let's do that. I forgot my bell.
Really?
So that's my bell for the topic of the day. Those of you who didn't know and thought I was an MD or my PhD was as a clinical psychologist, actually, my PhD is in organizational psychology, which means human dynamics at work. So things like power, politics, miscommunication, conflict, um, valuing diversity or not, all of those things that involve humans who have to get along at work and why they don't get along. So I thought I would combine some that expertise for you, which also lends itself to Mental Health Monday Matters, because it's about your mental health and less stress and more fun and more productivity and efficiency, and just having a better time at work. Because, folks, you spend more time at work than you do anywhere else. If you think about it, 40-day work week is not realistic for many. Either you have more than one job in order to make ends meet, which is not a good thing. and or you are a workaholic, which I'm a recovering workaholic, and I have been known to work 80 hours a week and be proud of myself. And unfortunately, that still seems to be a way to prove your worth in some organizations, and work-life balance is an oxymoron. There's really no such thing. And it's funny because people will ask me to do a motivational talk. I did that for Wells Fargo. Tim Hanlon, an EVP, I believe he's retired now, but he invited me. His executive assistant actually found me on the internet years and years ago for work-life balance. And I used to joke around and say, yes, I'll speak on work-life balance, and say, this is how you get it. And then you sit down in the audience, because there really is no such thing for people who want it all, quote unquote. You would need to be two people to do that. However, you can be happy at work. And that's what we're tackling today for the topic. I am going to play for you an interview I did in Seattle on NBC News NBC News, the morning show. And I really enjoyed doing that interview with Christy. And instead of hearing me talk, just me, you get to hear me talk with someone else first, and then I'll come back and address the tools. So that is what we're doing today. Enjoy this interview. Let's see if I can find it now. And enjoy. Let's see. We're going to share this one and we'll come back. I will be here to play this in a second. Let's see. Here it is. Here we go.
Getting ahead in our careers means putting our nose to the grindstone, pushing ourselves and coworkers towards perfection. Or does it? Organizational psychologist Dr. Marissa Pei calls this the BS belief system that can get in the way of good relationships, good leaderships, as well as the happiness we feel in our relationships at work and at home. She's the author of 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are. Thank you, Dr. Marissa, for joining us here on the couch today.
And thank you, Christy, for having me.
Welcome, and congratulations on your book.
Thank you very much. It's been wonderful. Yes.
Yeah.
Making number 4 on Denver Post and 6 and 7 on Amazon are made of dreams that I never thought true. But the good news is happiness is trending, and people are wanting to be happier.
Well, let's talk about these myths, because
Yes.
you have 3 myths that you say really get in the way of being a good leader. And being a good leader doesn't have to mean that you're the CEO of a massive corporation. It can be being the leader of your home. Yes. It can be being a good friend. It can be just leading others in a good way. And so you say, myth number 1 is a leader's job is to whip you into shape.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing about whipping and the thing about being in the grindstone and always pushing, it's never enough. So most of us are recovering perfectionists of some kind, or control freaks, and we really want things to be a certain way, but life is a little messy and nothing is there. And it's like nailing Jell-O to a tree, or, herding cats in any kind of organization, as well as in your home. You want something, but if it's not that way, then you're unhappy. And so if the only thing you can really control is yourself and the way you see life. And so that is one of the BS belief systems that continuously keep us unhappy.
I call it positology.
That's a great
I always say,
term.
I'm a positologist. I think great thoughts, good things happen. And if you try to look at life in the positive direction, generally it kind of always works out.
Absolutely.
Okay, myth number 2, perfectionism is a noble endeavor. What's wrong with that? You say it robs us of the joy of accomplishment.
Yes. So perfectionists, on one hand, it helps you accomplish a lot. However, nothing is ever enough.
Right.
So when I'll be happy when I get this done, or I'll be happy when this much money is in my bank account, or I have this car or this house. But then when you get there, you're going for the next thing. So you're always at that 88% mark. And instead of looking at, look at all the things that have happened and all the great things that have happened in my life and how great I am and how great the person I'm with is, we're looking at that 12%, what's still wrong, what needs to be put into the next day's to-do list, and what's wrong with you.
And it really does rob you of your joy, because you're
does.
constantly saying, okay, by the time I'm 40, I have to do this. Or, I think it also really robs our children.
Yes.
Because we probably do that with
we
our kids a
treat
lot.
people the same way, because you see people, unless it's that first, honeymoon stage where everything's perfect, but usually
that fades pretty quickly.
It does. You're at the 88%. Instead of seeing the 88% good of that person, we begin to focus on, oh, if he would only text, or if he would only leave the toilet seat up or down, whatever it is.
It would make us so happy.
Yes. And we forget the broad perspective, the 88,000% look.
Instead of saying these are the great things. Maybe we have a few things to work on, but let's be proud of what we have accomplished.
Exactly.
Always look at the 12%.
Exactly.
Okay, and myth number 3, I need smart people to execute. I don't have time for this touchy-feely stuff.
Well, the sad thing about it is the touchy-feely stuff is half of the equation. So people think that, if people just do what I say or execute, everything will be fine. But the problem is, or the solution is, work is 50% task and 50% relationships. And you can be a rocket scientist and have great content, but if you can't execute with people and be interpersonally effective, the task won't get done.
People don't like you.
So,
They don't want to work with you.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Speaking of that, you talk a lot about happiness. And you
Yes.
talk a lot about how to get happy. And I think that's something in this day and age that a lot of us have a really, really hard time accomplishing. We're constantly on our phones. We have to be constantly available. We have to do. And you talk a lot about, like, let's just take a step back here.
Yeah.
And you wrote a book about it, 8 Ways to Happiness from
wherever
wherever you are.
Exactly. So if you go do this, do that, do this, you end up in do. That's number one. We don't want that. Yeah, we don't want that. And it is that, again, that perfectionistic, nothing's ever enough. We got to accomplish, we have to succeed. And we're never in that place of, am I happy? And the fact that 1 in 4 Americans are currently on antidepressives and anti-anxiety medication, and many are still anxious and depressed and now have dangerous side effects on top of it, suicidal thoughts, that's a main effect, not a side effect. And it begins to make us wonder, who are we and are we happy? And that's the good news. So everyone's stopping now to actually ask that question. And with the unfortunate passing of Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, look, happiness, what happened? Status, money, that's supposed to make you happy, right? The American dream, that's supposed to make you happy. Cinderella, happily ever after. But all of those are BS belief systems that keep us locked into this la land of thinking that we're entitled to a life without pain. But as Sally Fields came out this morning, again, she's one of the 7 out of 10 of us, the majority of us who are not, don't have that normal, functional home. So if the majority of us grow up with childhood trauma of some kind, why do we think there's something wrong with us, that we need to be fixed, or that we'll never get ahead, or all the bad things? There's nothing wrong with us. We've had life pain. Pain in life is mandatory, but suffering is optional.
And that's critical there. And I think if people are watching today, because whether you've been abused, whether you've lost a loved one, everybody deals with something, right?
Fear, perfectionism.
If they're watching today thinking, well, how do it's all good and well to say, well, just be happy. Let's just get to happy. What are 1 or 2 practical things people can do today, right now, to help them make that leap?
Great question, Christy. Thank you. I call it Blisscipline. I got that from Michael Bernard Beckwith, who wrote the foreword to the book. So every morning I wake up and the first thing I do is not turn on the if it leads, it bleeds news, right? Sorry.
There's a lot of that, though.
Yeah, because we gravitate towards what's bad and wrong,
and it's just
all over the place. So I sit up and I take a breath and I just connect with me. And that's through the breath, which is qi in Chinese. I know you thought I was Swedish, but if you take that breath in through the nose and then release through the mouth, and just start with 2 minutes. It's meditation, but it doesn't have to be rocket science meditation. It's just a connection with who you really are at the core of who you are, which is a precious, loving, loved, and lovable being. Then I start with 8 gratitudes. Now, Dr. Wayne Dyer, beautiful.
I loved him.
And he's watching us from the other side, and he'd said 5 gratitudes in the morning. Now I'm an overachiever, so I say 8, and 8's a lucky number in Chinese. So it's a homonym for good fortune, with the title of the book. So I do 8 gratitudes first thing in the morning, and that sets me to actually begin to look at all the good things that are going to happen in that day. And then before I go to bed, instead of thinking about, I have to do this tomorrow and I didn't get to this, I close the day, or I sandwich my day with 8 gratitudes, and that helps the day
Just get you and set your intention.
What it is.
That's right.
Your positive.
Positology, my friends.
That's
right.
it.
All good things. So let's make a deal with each other. Let's set some positive intentions. Let's be grateful, and let's try to look at the 88% that we have accomplished and we can be proud of, and then we'll work on the other 12% together. How about that?
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
So lovely to meet you. Check out her book, 8 Ways to Happiness, from wherever you are. Thank you to Dr. Marissa, and we'll see you after the break.
All right.
Abraham, I am so adverse.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that. It was definitely one of my favorite interviews. Christy Johnson, wonderful woman. Shout out to her. I'm not sure where she is right now, but thank you so much for that platform. That was when the book came out. I was number 6 on the success and number 7 on happiness in Amazon. And then later that year, I became number 1 Amazon. So that was way back when, but so appreciative of the chance to speak on that particular platform. Got a lot of love for that interview because, you know, as I was saying earlier, the topic for today is how can I be happy at work? Because work, I do spend most of my time, and there are people at work that I like and I get along with, but there are people that I don't respect them. I don't like them. I borderline hate them. And I'm not the only one. There's other people, and we complain. And, you know, when we see them coming down the hall, we duck into the bathroom and try to avoid them. And so work is, you know, or they're expecting me to do more with less. I don't have the staff support. There's just no way we can hit these numbers. I'm being punished for not hitting the goals. It's not under my control. All these promises that were made to me when I first signed on or at the last review. And how can I have a review that says I'm outstanding and yet I'm not being promoted? Any of this sound familiar? There's so many reasons to not enjoy your work that it's really become I know I'm biased because I'm brought into organizations when there's a crisis point where either you have misbehaving executives. That's my work in executive coaching. They're great at sales. They were really good, and now for some reason they're not. Or you have walking liabilities, as we call them, people who don't understand that they cannot, I'm going to use an extreme. They cannot, let's see, in the old days, I'll go to the one extreme. In the old days, you actually had bosses who would pat their assistants butt as they walked by. And for those of you who are like, what? And millennials who are saying, what? That's not possible. It wasn't that long ago when that was not out of the ordinary. So for those of you who can't even imagine that, it wasn't that long. It was in the days of the Bill Cosby. I'm not excusing him. In the days of Weinstein, I'm not excusing him. However, it was okay then to do that. And there still are people in the organization who don't understand why that is disrespectful. Why can't I compliment a woman whose dress I like? What is the big deal of why can't I open the door for a woman who's you know going in? That's a gentleman. That's how I was raised. That's how respectful. Why can't I call a woman ma'am? That's the way I was told to be respectful. And all of these past norms that are now um, deemed disrespectful. I know I have a population of clients who don't understand that. And I have, after being an organizational psychologist for 30 plus years, I started when I was 10, because I'm hashtag ageless. But it is one of those things where I've realized as a diversity consultant, it's almost impossible to get someone who was raised that way to understand the shift. And so for some things, I just say, you have your definition of respect and they have their definition of respect, and it doesn't match. And so you have the choice. Do you want to be more effective with a larger group of people? Yes is usually the answer of my executives. So then I would say, even if you don't understand it, you might want to practice it, because I can't convince you. I can't explain it in a way that you'll understand. But just know that if your intent is to be respectful, then of course you want your impact to be respectful. And so in those cases where you have a BS, a belief system that people are being way too touchy-feely, way too emotional, way too walking on eggshells, way too sensitive, you have the right to that opinion, but know that that opinion in action will not bring you success when it comes to emotional intelligence or leadership effectiveness or personal mastery or professional mastery. So that's always a choice. So I'm speaking now to those people who are in the workplace who really feel like they are at their wits' ends on how to be effective at work because they don't understand the shift that's happened in the workplace. All right. So that's for you. Now, for the other side, where you may be one of the younger population who hold this very strong, no, I'm not going to respect you because of your position, and you're going to have to earn my respect. I get this all the time from the challenges that some of the older mid-level managers, or senior directors are having with the younger population. Again, if you want to be effective and move up the ladder in your organization, it may not be fair, right? It may not be right, but you have to have some understanding. Well, if you want fair, I usually say in California, go to Pomona. Um, that's a fair in Pomona, or Orange County Fair, because the number one, and I alluded to it in my interview that you just saw, the number one helpful mechanism for everyone at work, if you want to have more happiness or more fun and more easy working with the people around you, you may want to remember the circle. So here's the circle of fun and happiness at work. So in the old days, in the past, in organizations, the BS, the belief system, if you wanted a smooth oiled machine at work, you wanted to be clear, people need to know exactly what your expectations are, you need to know how to execute, and it's all about content. It's all about the technical knowledge, the IQ about your job. And as an organizational psychologist, I will tell you, getting the work done, getting the task done, which is the top half of the circle, okay, that you cannot get things done unless you have the relationship glue to support it. impact. And that's the bottom half. That's emotional intelligence. That's leadership effectiveness. Thank you for the somebody just gave me the finger. Not that finger, but this finger. Thank you for that. And welcome to those of you who are in my cashew gallery instead of peanut gallery. I am here talking live with you, and I'm so glad that you're here with me. If you're driving and listening on the AM FM channel, please do not chat while you're driving. Just go to my YouTube TV channel when you get wherever you are and chat there, or on my Facebook or LinkedIn. All right. So in order to get things done, top of the bun, you have to have enough relationship glue on the bottom. I'm not talking about office romance. I'm not talking about kissing anybody's behind or their assets. I am talking about enough of a relationship to support getting the work done. Now, some of you may say, but I don't respect them. I cannot respect who they are. So I will never be able to get anything done because I don't want to have to work with them because I don't respect them. And to you, I'm going to say you're going to have to suck it up because you are not, unless you're the boss. And, there's people who really aren't made for working within the organization. I'm one of them. I know that's why the name of my show is Take My Advice. I'm not using it because I'm really good at giving you what works, not necessarily in practice. I'm a solopreneur. I have been for pretty much all of my life, except for when I worked with Coopers and Lybrand and Scott Paper Company at doing my internship, and then my my dissertation there on the East Coast before going to Europe, and then consulting. I sort of fell into consulting. I guess my personality knew that I would not do well within the organizational structure. But if you're working within an organization, you have to have some respect for that organization and the people, whether or not you like them. Just think of it this way. And I'm not asking you to necessarily swallow, I'm not going there, swallow abuse. So there are plenty of, that's an extreme. Please don't go to the extreme. That's why I'm all about balance. People live and die in the extreme, and it's not comfortable, and you will not find happiness. So happiness is about balance. So I'm not talking about the extreme. If you have an abusive boss who literally will demean you in front of others, or make you do things that are immoral and ethical, then there are laws to protect you. I'm not talking about that extreme. I'm talking about, okay, one of the leaders that I get to work with does not get along with his boss because he is very old school, has some antiquated ideas about success, is not open at all to any of the suggestions that my client has. And it's very, very frustrating for him. So he hates going to work every single day because he has to suffer taking direction from someone that he does not respect. So there's a great example. I'm sure he's not alone. I've had clients like this throughout my 30 years, and I will continue to, because you're just not always going to love your boss. Right. So in those cases, and I'm going to be a coach to that person, if you're that person who just really does not enjoy reporting to whoever you're reporting to. So here's some self-soothing things that I can say and have some personal mastery over how I choose to respond to that person. All right. So the first thing that I ask people do, and if you don't have the situation, but you identify with the words I'm saying, maybe with the person you're in a relationship with. So instead of firing or going to find another job, right? I and this is a difficult thing to swallow sometimes, but it is a powerful model that I have discovered, and I use it all the time because I want to know that I'm the boss of me and every situation that I am in. And one of the models, thank you for the hearts on that one. One of the models that I have lived by that I love is the Law of Attraction by Abraham Hicks, which says you create your own reality. Oh, no, 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 no. I would have never chosen this idiot to be my boss. That's not possible. Well, I usually ask people at this point, how many idiotic bosses have I had in my life? Or how many controlling people have I had in my life, personally or professionally? And the number is more than one. And so I have to look at, is it possible that I am, for some reason, attracting more of those kinds of people in my life? And it's worth a pause. You could say no, but let's contempt prior to investigation. Let's just take a look at that. And I will look at in my own life. I did have that happen. And the reason why I did that is because I was not secure in my own abilities and therefore drew in people who felt the same way about me. I attracted a man that I married that way. I attracted bosses that way. I attracted coworkers and friends, and I would complain about them. And until I could say the buck stops right over here, I repeated every time that same, I don't feel secure in myself. Therefore, I will bring in people who feel the same way about me and criticize me, put me down, tell me I'm not funny. That was my husband. Criticize what I was doing, putting myself in that place where I got defensive as my response or had a knee jerk reaction, guaranteeing that I'm a jerk. But instead, when I really was honest and could look at myself without, bashing myself and say, you know, it is possible that because I don't acknowledge what I am good at, that I'm going to find people that will give me the opportunity to continue and to hone my skill of owning what I know, or what I do well. So here, instead of they're an idiot, they don't value me, they don't appreciate me, they don't promote me, they don't know my value. And instead of going there, I can say, here's an opportunity for me to own what I am good at, which requires you to take an honest assessment of, what am I good at? And am I communicating what I'm good at? If I don't know because I haven't practiced, people have said, you're creative. Do you practice your craft? Do you practice manifest? Oh, sorry. Do you practice the ability to show your creativity? Or are you trapped in every moment of reacting to whatever the situation is? Or with your time, what are you doing with your time? You could be practicing a different language, practicing the piano, practicing the guitar, practicing being healthy, doing things that way. Or are you spending all of your time sitting on the computer, reacting to nonsense on someone's post, or sharing news, always looking for something sensational to put on your thing that will make people go, oh, or finding something that you're angry about, instead of when was the last time I updated my resume, which is there's so many social great thing about social media is, LinkedIn is a great business place to continue interacting. How are your strategic alliances with people in your field? How many you don't need to be in something to get a continuing education unit. You can go, there's so many places on YouTube you can learn more about something you want to learn about. So this is where, when you begin to not affirmations, I have to say this. um there was a time where people are like, just, affirm, I am beautiful, I am smart, I am whatever it is. And if you don't believe it, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. But if you have no reason to believe it because you haven't done anything smart lately, or if you haven't demonstrated creativity, or you haven't upped your ability to whatever it is, then of course you're going to feel insecure about that, because you have not done the work, right? So that's where inspired action, you ask the question, so what am I good at? And this is an exercise that I can't believe I didn't bring the book to show you right now. Bad marketing. But and oh, I'm glad I just put that out there. Public relations marketing is sales is not a bad word. And the it, and this is for me. I don't like selling. I don't like marketing. People think I I love it because I do it well. It's not something I like to do. However, I do teach a course called Be the Best That You Can Be and broadcast it, because it doesn't matter what you're good at. If you don't have the ability to communicate it, then it's the light, under the bushel. So communication and marketing and sales is something you don't have to hire someone necessarily. I mean, that could be what they're great at, but you can learn so much about that even for free on YouTube. There's plenty of information there. So my practical happy 88 tip this morning, this or at noon, wherever I am, is, instead of complaining about your boss, complaining about your work, complaining about life, complaining about politics, complaining about whatever, use that time to anchor your own gifts, talents, and abilities. You have natural gifts, talents, and abilities. Everybody does. But if you're not practicing, if you don't have a hashtag blisscipline, that's from my big brother, Michael Bernard Beckwith. If you don't have a way to practice them, then you are going to be insecure. You're not going to be able to affirm something you don't believe. That takes some practice, but we have time in the day instead of binge watching something. I'm not saying don't watch. We've got great entertainment. I use it as a reward. If I finish my work for the day, I love seeing movies. I love watching shows. I love talking about shows with my friends. But you've got at least an hour or two a day to work the muscle so that you're not attracting people who are going to criticize you because you criticize yourself, because you really know that you're not all that. If you believe that you're not all that, then do something about it, right? Now, I'm going to go to the people who are doing all those things. They are practicing and they're not getting the recognition, and they're not being, and they do know what they're good at, okay? The chances that you actually are working for someone who does the best that they can, but could use a little help. Now, this is for this is advanced. Okay, so if you already don't like someone that you're working with, I need you to own the possibility that you have Pygmalion effect. And Pygmalion effect is a real psychological phenomena that happens at work, at home, wherever it is. It just happens with people, though, not animals. If you believe someone is an idiot, then you have a set of glasses that you are looking through that will guarantee that the only things you see are when that person is acting like an idiot. You're going to draw in examples really easily of when that person is an idiot. And it will be very difficult for you to see any data that doesn't confirm that. Even when they're being complimentary to you or they're valuing you or you can't even see it or hear it because of your own Pygmalion effect, your own glasses that will not allow you to see them that way. How do you remedy this? I haven't taken a station ID and they're yelling at me now. If you've just tuned in and you're wondering what's going on in studio today, this is Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5. Number one talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, my YouTube TV channel. Please subscribe. Give me the finger, not that one, but this one. And thanks for tuning in. We have been talking about how do we find more happiness, joy, fun at work with people that we don't like. And I'm specifically honing in on bosses or spouses or someone where you have a primary relationship and you cannot find the good. So, one is to work on yourself to make sure you're not attracting them. Two is even if you are pretty firm and under your biggest fan and you understand what you're good at and they don't seem to see it, then it is taking off your glasses that got there from Pygmalion effect, and you're not allowing any data to come through to say that they are actually not as bad of an idiot as you think they are. Okay, here's how we do it. This is advanced graduate school. For the next 30 days, you will only see, you're going to take off the glasses, you're going to try to see them as a new person. Not easy, but this is how we All right. I know that let's see if we can't oh boy. All right, the internet is down at my brother's place. We're almost done. So let me figure out how to get me on full screen here. Here we go. There we go. So we're almost done with the show, which is great. I was giving you the last part of how do we um, get along with those that we report to or that we are tied to. And we have only been able to see them as not smart, or I was using idiot as a short form. So here's the final word, and the solution is 30 days. 30 consecutive days of seeing them new. So in order to do that, the best way to do that is if you can take yourself back to your very first day when you began to interact with them, and there were actually positive things about them that you liked. And for those of you that are using this as a um, advice for home. So the first 3 months in your relationship, I call it the first trimester of a relationship in my pregnancy model of relationships. And that is when you saw them through the glow. All right. Same first, right? The honeymoon stage at work. What was it about them that you did like? Start there every day. Force yourself to see. He's nice to other people. Uh, I use this particular phrase, write it down. Everybody does the very best that they can do. If they could do better, they would, but they can't. Everybody does the very best that they can do with the resources they have and the time they have. That's another one I use. And I use this for myself too when I make a mistake, right? Oops, I'm not perfect. Neither are they. They're good 88% of the time. This is a BS that you have to swallow. This is the belief system that you do choose to believe. Even if you don't believe it, you have to choose to believe it. And the only reason is it's not for them, it's for you. And this is kind of tied to the forgiveness work as well, because you can spend your entire forking life being angry, justifiably angry, righteously, indignantly um, uh, uh, um, right and angry and bitter and anxious and fearful and mad and volatile. You can choose to have that reaction to anyone. They did this, they shouldn't have, he stabbed me in the back, whatever it is. And you could choose to be angry like that for the rest of your life. But I guarantee you, if you do that in the workplace, you're probably not going to be promoted. If you do this at home, you're probably not going to be happy at home either. And if you're unhappy at home and you're unhappy at work, God bless you. It's going to be not a very long time before you get sick, or you'll get sick and you can't get well because it impacts your immunity system. Prolonged stress will hurt your health. So, hopefully, you have gotten something out of this. Hopefully, you stayed with me through that little hiccup. We'll fix that in the show podcast itself. So feel free to go and we'll meld those two little pieces together. But thank you so much for joining me today. It is a Monday, Tuesday blend for the show because of the holiday, but I hope you enjoyed any that will help you be happier and more balanced in your life. This is Dr. Marissa. Tomorrow is Doctors in the House for this wonderful Wednesday. I am broadcasting live out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Wish me luck on the Yuck Yuck stage tonight doing my stand-up comedy. So grateful to be invited there. It's all about balance, folks. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Now go and have the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take back your life.